observed. My apologies, I should have been here. I was here last time at the tail end of the conversation, an interesting conversation. Unfortunately, again, I'm here at the tail end, having gotten off some time off my busy schedule in the office of the principal, which is a prison of some sort. Otherwise, it's happy to see you here. I could start by making the political statements which Zahara has already made. The School of Law is available to have you and engage in initiatives of this nature. Indeed, that's the position. We are happy. Well, for a very long time, universities have been accused of, concentrating on theory and not being out there to engage the community and engage policymakers and influence change. So I'm happy that in the last so many years in Makerere and at the School of Law, we've been doing that. Turning to the subject of discussion today, I know one thing that Uganda is a very beautiful country on paper. When it comes to the laws, we have the best laws. When we come to the policies, we have the best policies, we have the best programs. So many countries have been here to benchmark that one. We know Uganda is one of the destinations for benchmarking in Africa on so many things. But from what I've heard and from what I've read and also seen elsewhere, our biggest problem is accountability. The money we have. I know that Honorable Kateshumba here, when he was in URA, he was doing a lot of work to raise money. Indeed, during his time, we were collecting a lot of money coming from customs and other sources of revenue. But the question is how we spend and account for the money. To me, that is the biggest challenge. That's what you've been discussing here since morning. The plenary conversations that I found on the floor, that was the conversation. And accountability the lack of accountability has almost become permanent. But in my view, it is sustained by one thing, which is the failure to ensure that we adhere to the rule of law. I agree that our laws have a number of weaknesses, and we see this in so many respects. But we also have laws that, if implemented, can actually achieve a lot. For instance, if people are not accounting, we know they can be prosecuted. We have one of the best laws, I think, some of the best laws when it comes to tackling corruption in Africa, in terms of the institutions that are put in place constitutionally, in terms of the penalties, in terms of the prosecutorial processes, etc., etc. There is quite a lot in the law. So I agree, yes, we may need a new law, we may need to look into the laws to see whether there are ways that we can improve accountability. That is something that should happen. All the time we should be reviewing our laws because so many new things keep on coming up. But that notwithstanding, we have laws in place which, if implemented, which if subjected to the rule of law, can actually promote accountability. The problem lies elsewhere. I think this has been alluded to. The problem is in politics. As long as we don't fix our politics, I think we are going to lament for so many years. On paper, Parliament has the power. That one we know. Honorable Adeke here read us the provision in the Constitution which affirms the powers of Parliament. But something that has happened consistently, and this one we are seeing in another research that we are looking at here at Huripec, we've seen institutional capture. It has progressed so intensely that all institutions have been captured. As a matter of fact, we know Parliament is under capture. So as long as we don't liberate ourselves, as long as we don't liberate our institutions, and the interesting thing is that the capture has happened at the macro level. You capture Parliament, but it has also happened at the micro level, that people will even invest a lot in capturing the School of Law, a very small place like this. And of course, in some respects, they may succeed, in some respects, they may not succeed, but they will disorganize. So as long as we don't deal with the question of institutional capture, Honorable Deke, you amend the Constitution and put that provision that Parliament can prosecute. then you'll discover that after you've sentenced the person, you find them on Kampala Road because you don't have a prison. Then you'll say, now as Parliament, we need to build a prison so that whoever we prosecute and convict, we put in that prison. So there is a bigger problem, and that's the question of the politics. As long as we don't fix our politics, as long as we don't deal with the problem of regime survival, I think we are going to lament and lament and lament. Lastly, I'm not so proud of my profession. When you are in the profession as a doctor, like our colleague here, you treat a patient, 2 days later you see them jumping up and down. Sometimes in the rural setting, they come back to you with gifts to say, thank you so much, doctor. Yeah, that one they do. When you are an engineer, you put up a building, if you are lucky and it does not collapse, you are happy every time you drive around. But as a lawyer, you are so frustrated because the law is not working. Sometimes I doubt, sometimes I sit when I'm leaving my house to come to work every morning. Sometimes I ask whether it is worth it, that I'm going out there to churn out 300 lawyers every day. In a country where the law means nothing. Surely, should I be paid? I'm paid a very huge salary now as a professor, but should I be paid to be churning out lawyers that are going to do nothing? Because in a profession that is dying because there is simply no rule of law. So 2 things, as my closing remarks, as long as we don't fix the rule of law issue to ensure that the laws are adhered to, let's test the laws that we have. As long as we don't fix that, we are going to lament and lament. And we cannot fix that unless we deal with the politics. And with the politics, one thing that we need to deal with in a very bold manner that we need to face is regime survival, because every opportunity, every event that occurs, whether it is Ebola, whether it is COVID, it is usually viewed as an opportunity for regime survival. So what do you expect if it's a matter of regime survival? Should it be the district health officer, DHO, to lead, or should it be the RDC? Definitely it has to be the RDC. So thank you so much. I don't know, Zahara, if those are the closing remarks that you expected. Otherwise, it's my pleasure to close this dialogue. We appreciate the time that you've given us. We know as members of parliament, you are so busy. We don't take this for granted. And then at the back of this note, I saw Zahara wrote, don't forget to invite them for lunch. This is now the big man single that I'm